I did want to bring up kind of a hot take topic here.
Oh boy.
And I mainly because I want to just like I need more places to talk about this, and I feel like it's really not talked about. And I think it's a really serious problem. I'm getting really annoyed and frustrated with Proton and their marketing. And this has been happening for a while. So, for example, let's really go back in time. So, Proton releases Proton Pass. In that blog article on Proton Pass, Proton makes false and incorrect claims about the security of other password managers, like Bitwarden and KeePass. KeePass XC, which is a KeePass client, came forward and said, where are your sources for this? So Proton in a blog article made these other tools look not safe to try to make their tool look more safe. And most recently, they put out this blog article talking about iCloud. And the headline and the title of the article is, I'm going to pull it up to make sure I get this right.
Before you get to that, because I thought I remembered seeing this, Proton did post a response to like KeyPass's Twitter thread. They posted a response on their subreddit, and basically their excuse was that they made two blog posts about their password manager software. They made one for a general audience that uses like Google Password Manager, for example, and then that's the example that they gave. And then they made a more technical blog post for the more technical community, is what they said. Basically, that they were saying that they weren't like intentionally targeting KeyPass. They were more targeting like Google. But at the same time, I definitely think that it's very easy to take their like general audience blog posts that gets a lot more attention than their technical posts and apply it to like a lot of the password managers that we do like KeePass, like Bitwarden. I think it's still a mistake on their end, as far as like how they're making these general audience blog posts, even if that's not like, even if they say that that's not their intent, it's definitely a failure on their end.
So the issue here is that Proton, whether intentional or unintentional, is now creating misinformation and misleading people and creating this fear mongering that is discouraging people from using actually safe tools. And then what they're going to do is they're going to maybe move to Proton Pass, which fortunately is probably a very trusted password manager. What happens when, kid in his basement password manager that's developed in his free time, which doesn't even use proper security, what happens when they put out a marketing piece that says that, all these password managers are insecure, and it implies that theirs is secure, and then people start flocking to that? That's the problem here. There's this implication that Proton can't do wrong, and that like they're the safe, trusted authorities, which I think is a dangerous place to start heading for them.
Yeah, it's not like a message that you should be, it's not the type of message you should be promoting, because while Proton is making a lot of like good work on their end, there's a lot of people making basically scam software that uses like these same marketing tactics that it seems like Proton uses sometimes. I think that's the main issue. Proton is marketing their products in a very similar way to very less reputable software providers, and it kind of adds legitimacy to that whole tactic as a whole, I think.
Yeah, it does. And I think it's a lose-lose because I think, like you said, it adds legitimacy to the people who use this for the wrong reasons. And so we're going to start seeing more of that. And we're going to start seeing more misleading things and more misinformation and more unnecessary distrust in the privacy community. But the actual people who like can sift through this and understand that Proton is just marketing fluff and being obnoxious, those are the technical users that are going to lose respect for Proton, including myself. And so all of us who are able to see that Proton's just being annoying are going to be like, this is silly, and it makes us even look bad for recommending Proton. Like, as because we recommend Proton because I truly believe that they have some amazing software, and they have probably hands down one of the most secure and private email providers that you can get your hands on. And that goes for a lot of their other pieces of software. But when they do nonsense like this, it makes us look terrible, because they're like, why are you recommending something that literally like spreads misinformation about other services? And most recently, this is where it really starts escalating. This isn't just a Proton Pass thing. They put out a blog article. Privacy Deep Dives is the title of this. And the headline is, Apple can see everything you store in iCloud. That's it. That's a quote. That is the whole headline. No context, nothing. In that same article, they then make a list. What is encrypted and how? Referring to iCloud. Some kinds of data are always end-to-end encrypted, even with default standard data protection, like passwords and keychain, health data, home data, messages in iCloud, payment information, Apple Card transactions, maps, QuickType keyboard learned vocabulary, Safari, screen time, Siri information, Wi-Fi passwords, Bluetooth keys, and emojis. So in the headline, they say Apple can see everything you store in iCloud, and then they themselves make a huge list about what Apple actually can't see in iCloud. And then this goes further, and they say if you turn on Advanced Protection Program, you'll even protect iCloud backups, iCloud Drive, photos, notes, reminders, Safari bookmarks, Siri shortcuts, voice memos, wallet passes, and freeform. Effectively, the only three things that aren't end-to-end encrypted in iCloud with Advanced Data Protection are Contacts, Calendar, and Mail. And what I really don't understand about this is those are three services that Proton offers. So even if Proton just gave completely honest, 100% not bullshit marketing, they still have such a strong selling point because they can say, even with Advanced Data Protection on in iCloud, we still have a selling point because we offer an end-to-end encrypted alternative that Apple does not provide. And even if Apple releases that tomorrow, they can still say, we're open source, we have a huge reputation in the privacy world, and we offer a lot of transparency behind what we do, which Apple has never really provided to that extent. And we have metadata protections, which Apple doesn't offer with a lot of this end-to-end encryption. Like, there's so many things that Proton can still market without having to resort to a headline that says Apple can see everything you store in iCloud, which is factually untrue, according to Proton's own blog article. And this especially frustrates me because part of our job, you know this, I'd say like in a video, like the Synology review, maybe 5 to 10 hours went into like planning the review. And then that video was unique because it took months to actually review the service. But let's just say the actual review process took 20 hours. And then the actual like scripting and like recording process might have taken like 3 to 5 hours. And then editing it might have taken 15 hours. Like, we're looking at like a 50 to a 100 hour project. But my point is, at the very end, when you think everything's done, I have to spend like 5 hours sometimes. It depends. Some videos are 20 minutes, sometimes they're 5 hours. It depends on how challenging it is, but I have to find a good title and thumbnail. And on YouTube, you have to have a good title and thumbnail to get attention. What's really frustrating to me is why this is so hard back here is I have to find the perfect title and the perfect thumbnail that is attention grabbing, but not fear mongering, because I want things to be ethical. And we've had so many opportunities, and I say this behind the scenes sometimes. I think we can have 1 million subscribers if we just leaned into like fear mongering and like ridiculous tactics on YouTube, because it would work. We would get so many clicks, we'd get so much attention. And so it's really frustrating for me because I know, and I'm in this game of like having to find attention-seeking headlines and thumbnails in an ethical way. I'm in this. I have a stake in this world. It's annoying when Proton doesn't do it right. That's my rant.
Absolutely.
I hate that they resort to this nonsense that comes across as a clickbaity YouTube video that's spreading misinformation. And it's not hard to like go back. You know, I have a lot of respect. So the Linux Experiment recently put out a video, and he posted about this on Mastodon. This isn't secret or anything, but I don't know if you saw this, but he posted on Mastodon. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the Linux Experiment, who I love the channel, they put out a video covering the recent French case, the French situation where they arrested people for using privacy tools like Signal and Tor and whatnot. He branded that video saying they were arrested, but they were never actually arrested. And so he went on Mastodon and he's like, you guys have, corrected me. The video title is misleading. And so he updated the video to better reflect the actual situation. We need more of that. The Linux Experiment has ethics. And when people step forward and say this is misleading and is going to cause issues in the long run, he fixes it. Proton's not doing that.
And it's crazy. I mean, it's just like you said, like the exact stuff that Apple is deficient in iCloud is Proton's bread and butter, right? Like there's no excuse to be posting things like this, basically. Because there are so many actual problems with iCloud, but them being able to see every single thing that you upload to it is not one of those issues.
Right.
So why would you bring it up?
And that's what's so annoying, because now, like, let's say Proton has any stake in how Apple can make improvements to iCloud. They just lost all their reputation. Because Apple's going to be like, well, people just think iCloud's not safe. We think it is, so we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. Versus if Proton came forward and said, here are actually some of the metadata concerns that still exist with Advanced Protection Program. And they actually cited legitimate issues with iCloud's protection, which exist. Then it's an actual article with actual points to be made that isn't just a Proton hit piece. It reads like a magazine that I read at Winco, getting my groceries. It looks like the stuff like from People.
That's a really good point, actually. I think that is like the main differentiator between that ethical content, like I think that you create, versus like this fear-mongering stuff. A lot of the people pushing these crazy headlines, I think Proton in this example even, are doing so because they have like their own personal goals, and like they're setting out to achieve some sort of narrative with that post. They're not acting like in a way, they're not trying to be constructive and like provide actionable feedback to iCloud, for example, in this situation. They don't care whether Apple improves their service or not. The purpose is to get people to use Proton Mail, so it doesn't really matter what they say from that perspective in their eyes. And I think that's really harmful that like a lot of like that Proton's doing this, that a lot of other creators are doing this, that they're trying to push things that like basically promote themselves at the expense of other privacy projects in the space, right?
1,000%. Totally on board. And to take that a step further, not only are they doing this at the expense of Apple and other people, they're doing it at the expense of their own users. I'm beyond upset with Proton right now. It is awful. I have no other words to describe it outside of this is terrible. And I think it makes the whole privacy space look terrible as well, because now like people who actually are technical and proficient and who understand how iCloud works, as well as just how end-to-end encryption works, are going to see literally one of the biggest names in the privacy space, Proton, who in a lot of ways represents the privacy community, start spouting nonsense that isn't true. And it makes the whole privacy community look like paranoid assholes.
Absolutely.
And I just have so many complaints. I don't even know where to start. This rant can keep going for the next like half hour, but I'll leave it in your court if you want to finish this out. But I think I need to step back on this one.
Well, it's just this is just one of my frustrations with the privacy community in general, where people don't really seem interested in improving the things that we already have. Like, they've written off iCloud completely, so they don't care about privacy or security improvements that Apple is making to iCloud. And I think that's really unfortunate. It's an unfortunate position for the privacy community in general to take, because it discourages people from doing what Apple is doing or what other big tech companies are doing. Like, you know, Google does some things right. They encrypt, like your Chrome browser history is end-to-end encrypted, for example. I still don't want people using Chrome in most cases, but like for the people who are, that's a net benefit to them. It's a benefit to a very large group of people. Like, if we can make these small incremental changes over time to much larger services to be more privacy respecting, that doesn't take anything away from alternatives like Mulvet browser, like Firefox. If Google Chrome gets better, or if iCloud gets better, that is not making actual private privacy-focused products worse, right? Like, it's not a zero-sum game, right? And I wish that we were more encouraging of companies that are taking some steps in the right direction, even if I'm not going to go out and recommend iCloud Mail over Proton Mail, of course. I would still like it if iCloud Mail was more private.
And
like, that would just
encrypted.
Be good.
Like, what if they release that?
Right.
Yeah. It's a very fair stance to take, I think.